Okay, hello everyone. Hi, I'm Stuart Fischman. This is the Web Yeshiva, and this is our last class before Pesach on how to count the Omer. I apologize in advance if the class goes a little clunky because the WebEx people completely changed the layout and presentation and all the instructions on how to like work the website. And last week was like a total catastrophe. I apologize for last week. Today, I hope it'll go a little bit more smoothly. I've been practicing. I would just point out, since I see Ezra is here, there's no clock, so I really don't know what time it is on the class. And also, I can't. I can't like leave the page in order to go back to my homepage on Google. If something just hits me, I'd like to show you a picture. Like this screen just takes up all of my screen. So if Ezra's there, if he's there, you can tell me later how you shrink the screen. Anyway, so we're going to start. How to count the Omer. Counting seems like a pretty simple thing. I mean, we can count on our fingers, like one little, two little, three little Indians. But in the history of mathematics, counting really is not simple. I happen to like mathematics. And here, I'm going to share a book with you. It's not a plug. And if you don't want to buy it, you don't have to. I think it's a very important book. What is mathematics? An elementary approach to ideas and methods. And the ideas and methods are really interesting in how mathematics evolved. The book was worth $20. All right. Probably find it cheaper on eBay. And if you have any interest in mathematics, I really recommend the book. All right, that's my little plug for the night. It's a very interesting book. So what can I say about counting? How to count the Omer. If you get everything right, it's pretty simple. And like everything else in human endeavors, complexities are interesting, but complexities usually are a result of human error. And there can be a lot of human error in counting the Omer. And one error that's really interesting because two of the great Gedolim, the early 20th century, disagreed on what to do. I'm talking about Rav Kook Zatzal. This is Rav Kook. And he had a colleague who was in Volozhin called Rav Avraham Kana Shapiro. That's Rav Avraham Kana Shapiro. One of the things that I miss is my pointer. I don't have a pointer anymore. I have this little hand thingy. This is Rav Avraham Kana Shapiro. You can see Rav Kook he's in part of the picture. They went to New York. That's why you see a man in the back with a straw hat. They went to New York to raise money for the yeshivot in Lithuania in the 1920s. And Rav Avraham Kana Shapiro was the Rav of the city of Kovno in Lithuania. And he is, besides as being a great Talmud Chacham and a great tzaddik, he was a remarkable person. When the Second World War broke out, Rav Shapiro had a son who lived in New York. It was very difficult for Jews to leave Europe. We all know that. His son managed to obtain a visa for him and his wife to enter New York. When the war actually started, Rav Shapiro was in Switzerland. So he was actually safe. He could have stayed in Switzerland. The war broke out. He went back to Kovno. And he said, when the ship is in trouble, the captain belongs on his ship. He went to Kovno, and Kovno was occupied first by the Russians, which was bad but not horrible. Then when the Germans attacked Russia, the Germans conquered Lithuania, and what was bad did become terrible. And he served the people of Kovno until his last breath. And his student was a Rav called Rav Ephraim Ushri, who survived the war, and he came to New York, and he wrote 6 incredible volumes of the tshuvot that they wrote in the Kovno ghetto. It's called Shutmi Ma'amakim. And it's a remarkable 6-volume work. It really is remarkable. And I'll type it for you. I'm going to try and this is my first time typing with the new app, Shutmi Ma'amakim. And you can find it in most online websites, Shutmi Ma'amakim. And if I could get out of this page, I'd show you a picture of the book, but I can't get out of the page. All right, so that's Rav Shapiro and Rav Kook. They had a disagreement. What happens if you don't know what the day of the Omer is? You don't know. You're not in a Jewish town, and I guess you had a little pocket calendar, and you lost your pocket calendar. What do you do? What do you do if you don't know what the day of the Omer is? So we'll see what Rav Kook says and what Rav Shapiro said. So Rav Kook's tshuvot are called he has volumes. There's Orach Mishpat and Orach Chaim. There's Dat Kohen and Yeridea. There's Ezra's Kohen and Even Ezer. There's Mishpat Kohen. How do I see everybody's name? I really got to get the hang of this. I'm closing this. If anybody wants to talk, just speak freely, because I don't know how to unmute. Where is the unmute button? You used to have a button here that said unmute everyone, but they took that button away also. So if you want to speak up, just speak up. But it's really, they really messed this up terribly, this whole website. Anybody have any questions? Can you unmute yourselves? Because I can't unmute you.
Yeah, I can unmute myself, and I don't have any questions yet.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That's what I want to know. Open participants panel. All right, so if you have any questions, just speak up. All right, so we'll go back to Rav Kook's tshuva. All right. Mashe ir b'inyan mishistapek l'minyan yimei asfira. In minyan mesupak nechshav minyan. So you go back to Richard Courant, who was also a refugee from the Nazis. He wrote this book, What is Mathematics? He was a German mathematician. He was Jewish, and he escaped from the Nazis. He came to New York. He was a professor of mathematics at New York University, and now their graduate school of mathematics was named after him. It's called the Courant Institute. An approach to ideas and methods. What's the idea of math? Let's think about that for a second. What's the idea? Okay, there's an idea. Okay, so we're going to talk about counting. What's the idea of counting? Does counting necessitate absolute precision? And that is what Rav Kook and Rav Shapiro are going to disagree about. Where did it go? I have to get the hang of this, so I apologize for the clunkiness. Okay, a person doesn't know. In minyan mesupak chashav minyan. I don't know if today's the third day of the Omer or the fourth day of the Omer. Can I say today's day 3 to the Omer, and if I'm wrong, it'll be day 4 to the Omer? Is that called counting? That's what Rav Kook was asked. In minyan mesupak nechshav minyan. Is counting me percent? You go to the store, if I go to the grocery store, and let's say something is 4 shekels 70 agorot, and I only have a 20 on me. If it's my makolet, I look at the large coins, look at the 10 shekels, the 5 shekels. If I'm off by 10 agorot and I'm in a rush and there's a line behind me, I don't count my change so critically. But let's say you're buying something that's very, very expensive. And let's say it's 37,319 shekels and 40 agorot. When I write the check, I'm going to write that check very carefully, because the person who's selling the object to me is also going to read the check very carefully. And if the check is off by a shekel, he's going to give it back to me, because there's a lack of precision. When you're counting serious money, you count exactly. But I'll say we should look at the same way with how we manage our spiritual lives. We should count our mitzvot, And be careful about the counting. The Rambam says on Hilchot Tshuva, Hashem weighs the world. He weighs everyone's merits and Chalila Avirot. And Hashem counts precisely. But now I have to do a mitzvah, Sfirat Omer, right? I need to do that. How precise must I be when I do the mitzvah? And I'm going to try and do this. Share, upload a file. Next. We look at the psukim.
Can you see
Yes?
my comments? I wrote one comment.
No, I can't. I really can't. It's not like it used to be. The old days, I can try and find it, but then I have to close some other windows. Hold on, you wrote a comment, so thank you for telling me.
Oh, okay. That's not big of a deal. I just was saying.
No, it is a big deal. If you wrote to me something, I wish I could. It's very.
Okay.
Tell me what your comment is. Just tell me what your comment was.
I was just saying, maybe just say that today is one more day than yesterday, because what else are you able to say?
What's counting? That's it. What does it mean to count? What does counting mean? And that's what we're going to see Rav Kahana and Rav Shapiro disagree about. And I tried to do this. It doesn't even do nekudot. It's like this is a PDF file. And the text came out very messy. Okay, but the mitzvah of counting is count 7 complete weeks, and after we have to count 50 yom. These numbers are pretty precise. How much precision do I need to do this mitzvah? So, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. What does it mean? How to count? So, Rav Kook says the person doesn't know. What bothers Rav Kook isn't the counting. He will see Rav Shapiro with an entirely different approach. Before we do Sivat Omer, we say a bracha, right? So the best I can do, if I don't know what the day is, will be like what Miss. How do I scroll down? Where's the scrolling tool? Okay, so like Rav Kook says, what his conclusions for oil is what you should tell people. This is so annoying. Okay. It's Hashem If I don't know if it's 3 or 4, say Hayam. Say today is 3, 4, and then I say days, because what Cook is worried about isn't the count, the precision of the counting. It's the hefsek. If I make a bracha on a mitzvah, I have to do the mitzvah right away. So let's say. Okay, let's say you're going to do you're done your Shabbat, and they wrote Shabbat. So you can say, Adlik Ner Shel Shabbat. You can't then tell someone, take out the garbage before you light the candles, because that's an interruption. You can't interrupt between the bracha and the performance of the mitzvah. The mitzvah is count. Count does imply know what you're talking about, precision. If I don't know, if Cook says it's okay to say today is 3, 4 days. Don't say today is 3 days, 4 days, because then that day or day in the middle might have been an interruption. That's all that bothers Rav Kook. You have to say the day, the 2 doubtful days, in as few words as possible without making a hefsek. Okay? That's what he thinks about. Now, what about the fact that I don't know? I mean, maybe counting implies precision. And what Cook says like this, right? If it's either 3 or 4, and they say today is 3, 4 days, well, it's either 3 or 4. And I said the right words. It's like, almost like in Kriyat Torah, like, you go to a shul that does this, but there's a thing in Parshat Zachor, at the end of Parshat Kitetse. And this is like Shabbat Zachor. There are different ideas. Is it Timche Zecher Amalek or Timche Zecher Amalek? So a lot of shuls, they say both. And one of them is right, and it's not considered a hefsek because I want to just fulfill my obligation. I want to do the mitzvah. I do the best I can. Today is either 3 days or 4 days. I say today is 3, today is 4. But Kamishmaya Galya, Eitzer Shalom Shem Mitzvah, and the Baruch Hu knows. Hashem knows if it's the third day or the fourth day. So when they were listening in Shemaim to you do the mitzvah of Sivarta Omer, they heard you say the correct day. Because you did. It's either 3 or 4, right? This mitzvah does not require definite knowledge. Okay, that's how Rav Kook understands the mitzvah of Sfirat Omer. Every day during these 49 days, I need to say what day it is in the Omer count. I have to say it. And I said it. The fact that I wasn't sure, so I mentioned 2 days, that's fine. It's fine. For Rav Kook, this is fine. There's a rule in halacha, things that if you don't say it, it doesn't count. Hashem doesn't hold our thoughts against us unless it's for Avodah Zarah. I said 3. I said 4. The fact that I'm not sure which it is, Hashem doesn't hold that against me because I did the action. The action is to declare what the day is. For Rav Kook, that is the mitzvah of Sirata Omer. It's a mitzvah of declaration. No deep knowledge, no profundities. And if you don't know, then say both days. That's Rav Kook. Any questions? Ideas? I guess not. Okay. So now we'll see the opposite opinion. That's the opinion of his colleague, Rav Shapiro, who was the Rav of Kovna. Where is my Dvar Avram? His tshuva are called Dvar Avram. It's actually a 6-page tshuva. We're only going to see the main part that has to do with Sfirat Omer. And this is how he presents the issue. The man is on a trip among non-Jews. I don't know if it's day 3 or day 4. Can I do what Rav Kook says you actually can go ahead and do? Today is 3 days, today is 4 days. Look what this is how he starts. He's the opposite of Rav Kook. It is simple to see that the mitzvah Sfirat Omer is not merely a declaration. And he's going to go on. There's certain mitzvot that we do, we just say them in Hebrew, and we don't really need to, as long as we say it in Hebrew, we don't need to understand Hebrew. The very good example is Megillat Esther. There's a mitzvah to hear Megillat Esther. There's a mitzvah to read Megillat Esther. If I don't understand Hebrew, if I simply enunciate in Hebrew, Megillat Esther, I did the mitzvah. I don't need to understand what I'm saying. I don't. Certain mitzvot, you do need to understand what you're saying. Most famous is Shema Yisrael. He's going to go into it. There's a mitzvah to say Shema Yisrael, the 3 parashot of Shema, and the Gemara makes a point of saying Shema here implies understand what you're hearing. So Shema is actually an exception to the rule. There's another mitzvah, Birkat HaMazon. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to say Birkat HaMazon. If a person doesn't understand Hebrew and they say Birkat HaMazon, I believe they fulfill the mitzvah because there's no necessity to understand what you're saying. Some mitzvot, yes. Some mitzvot, no. Sfirat Omer, Rav Shapiro holds, obviously you need to understand what you're saying. And not because of a drush on the word sfira. He says that's what the word means. Counting implies precision. There's a mitzvah to count. If I am incapable of basic computational arithmetic, forget about that, algebra. If I give the Makot man a 50 shekel note to buy something that costs 4 shekels and 30 agorot, if I cannot count, then I don't know how the change works. You have to know. The mitzvah is to count. Counting means understanding numbers. Okay? He says it's obvious. Okay, but if you don't know what you're counting, it's like, so let's say my wife sends me to the store and she says, bring back 8 oranges. I'm going to count to 8. Because I just take a random bunch of oranges and put them in the bag and take them home, and there aren't 8 oranges, then she won't be able to make whatever she wants to make. It takes 8 oranges. 8 means 8. Okay? 3 means 3. It doesn't mean maybe 4. 4 does not mean maybe 3. True, like Rav Kook says, you did recite the words. And Rav Kook very beautifully says, Kosh Baruch Hu knows. Kosh Baruch Hu knows what day it is to the Omer. Hashem wants to hear me declare the proper date. If I don't know which the proper date is, say 2 dates, because all Hashem wants is a declaration. And Rav Shapiro says, no, that's not counting the Omer. Counting means comprehension. 3 means this many, not this many. I don't even have my camera. Okay? That's a big disagreement. Okay? You all there with me? Yes? Somebody say yes.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. I'm very disoriented by this new website. Really, it's like,
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what you see on your screen, but say quotes of Yaakov Emden. Now, this is a big idea. He wants to prove it. And he proves it for an interesting idea. The Matan Torah says, "Ein sofin abalash and shumevin." Without the Matan Torah was a great commentator to Shulchan Aruch. He said, on a similar vein, that you have to count in a language that you understand. Okay, let's say you have a transliterated siddur. There used to be transliterated siddurs. It says, so if I don't speak a word of Hebrew, but it's transliterated for me. Hayom shlosha yamin la'omer. I don't speak a word of Hebrew. Malcolm says I wasn't yotzei the mitzvah, even though I said the right words, because I didn't understand what I said, and that's not counting. Okay, but see, and I'll try and underline this with this lousy underlining tool because I got rid of the good underlining tool. So I'm going to go like this. I hate messy. This is just messy. But I made a circle around it. But see, if a person doesn't speak Hebrew and accounts in Hebrew, he wasn't fulfilling the mitzvah. He didn't know what he said. This is not called counting. Counting means understanding. Okay. And so then the rest of the tshuva, he goes on into various other mitzvah, which some require comprehension, some mitzvah don't require comprehension. But Rav Shapiro says it really does require comprehension. To count means to count. Okay, so it's like I said, it's a 6-page tshuva. We're not going to do all 6 pages. This is his conclusion. Me'ata. Okay, now that we summed all this up. Person does not understand and know the number. That's not called counting. I think we can all pretty much understand it. This is not called counting. The mitzvah is to count. Okay, in Cambridge, you don't need done. So what do? I don't want to leave a person like bereft. So this person, I don't know, he's in Albania. Or he's hiking in Albania, and he lost his pocket calendar. He has no internet connection. I don't know what the day is in Sfera to Omer. What do you do if you're trapped in Albania? In Cayman, in such a case, but I didn't understand. Don't do what Rav Kook says. Rav Kook said today's 3 days, today's 4 days. He says that just doesn't work at all. You can't say today is 3 days, today is 4 days. Because you have to know a number. Okay? You need a number. She'im, efshar, shushosh, efshar, shabim, kain, lavi, mispar, klal. Maybe is not a number. It's like, really, maybe it's not a number. It's like, I just love this book, so I'm going to show you another picture of it again. Courant, in his book, he talks about theories of infinity. It's a nice way of saying it. Like, you learn math, and like learn fractions in like 4th grade. You can't divide by 0. 1 divided by 0. It's meaningless. Because infinity is not a number. He puts it nice. He says infinity is a procedure. Things can go on infinitely. But if you type in your remember the old calculators, the LEDs, the LCD display. If you did 1 divided by 0, you got something called syntax error. Syntax error. You can't divide by 0. It's a syntax error. My calculator wants to calculate. You can't calculate division by 0. It's a syntax error. So for Stuart Omer, to say today's 3 days, 4 days, that's a syntax error. Because it's meaningless in this context, right? I need a number. I need a number. So you can't do what Rav Kook said. Say 3 days, 4 days. I think Ms. Mann also suggested that, right? Did you say in your comment? Did you suggest that, Ms. Mann? Hello? Is Ms. Mann there?
Oh, hi. Yeah, you're unmuted. Okay. Can you hear?
Yes, I hear you. Yes.
Oh, good. I think you're unmuted. I know. I said that you would just say it's 1 more than it was yesterday.
Okay, is that considered? That's actually an interesting question. Is that considered counting? Because I need to say the day. There are achronim who talk about that. Today is 1 more than yesterday, but we don't know what yesterday was either. Right? So for Shapiro, I need definite knowledge. If I want to be clever, and I know if I know yesterday was 4, and I want to be clever, I say today is 1 more than yesterday. It might be good because I have clear, definite, correct knowledge. But here, just to say today is 1 more than yesterday, it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me for Rav Kook, because Rav Kook, I need to do the declaration. I'm better off saying today is 3 or 4. But for Shapiro, it doesn't help me at all because I don't have definite knowledge. Okay? You need definite knowledge. I need, as he puts it, I need to know a number. Okay? But I don't have that here. Okay? And lucky guesses also don't help. So if I didn't hold like the Magen of Ram, maybe I did hold like Rav Kook. If I want to hold like I didn't mention, Rav Yaakov Endem suggests that it's really the mitzvah is a declaration. It's a declaration, and I declared. Maybe I could have a doubt. But I don't agree with that. I think you need definite. Counting is counting. Counting means knowledge, definite, clear, precise knowledge. Meaning, to say maybe, that doesn't mean that's a syntax error. Okay. So the person said, okay, look, I can't count 2 days because 2 days can't be right. I'm going to guess. You know what? Let's see. Let's think. The Seder was Saturday night. We started counting Sunday night. I'm not sure what day of the week is today, but probably it's Thursday. So Sunday. So it's tough on Monday. Monday will be the first day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm going to count 4. Okay. So maybe you guessed right. What do you lose? Rav Shapiro says it's meaningless. Lo yatsa. But since he didn't know when he counted what's the precise date, he didn't count. But what am I going to do? I have to have something to tell these poor people. Ulam, however, there's a famous question. I really think that counting means precision. There's a famous question. Yantav Sheni, Chutz La'aretz. You know, there's 2 days of Yantav, right? There's 2 days of Yantav. People in Chutz La'aretz know it's 2 days of Yantav. They're going to say that the first night of Pesach is Saturday night, and then they're going to do the Seder all over again on Sunday night, right? Because Yom Tov Sheni will be Monday, right? Am I right? Yom Tov Sheni is Monday in Chutz La'aretz, right? Anybody there?
Yes, right.
Monday. They have to. That's it. So they're going to say, you know what? Tonight's the first night of Pesach. They do Yom Tov Sheni. Baal Morris said, why don't we do Yom? That's called Sfeika Diyoma. The dab. We have to cover the dab. Why don't we do Sfeika Diyoma for Sivrat Omer? Right? Why don't we do Sivrat Omer, Sfeika Diyoma? We're going to count. Sunday night is 1. Monday night is 2. Well, maybe they should count Monday night as 1 also, because it's Sfeika Diyoma. Because if they made a Seder, right? They made a Seder on Monday night. How are they counting Sferat Omer on Monday night? Tonight's not the day after. It's not the day after Pesach. It's the first day of Pesach. How do we resolve this? Right? Good question, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we? Because the Baal Ma'or says, you know what? Because there's a whole nother issue. It's Sferat Omer mitzvah min Torah. There's a whole, because Sferat Omer is linked to it's the Omer, the counting the Omer. We don't have, unfortunately, but we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, so we don't have a Korban HaOmer. So we'll see this Gemara soon. There's a serious Bible opinion that Sferat Omer these days is a Drabanan mitzvah. Because if there's no Korban HaOmer, then you're not counting anything. La Omer. There is no Omer. So since it's a mitzvah Drabanan, we don't do Sfeika Diyoma. We don't do 2 days of Omer counting, just like we don't do 2 days of Purim and 2 days, because it's also Sfeika Diyoma. So he says, no, the Baal Ma'or could said a different answer. He said, we don't do 2 days of Omer, the Sfeika, because then the counting is not precise, and the counting that requires precision. And since the Baal Ma'or doesn't use his approach, apparently it may not be the right approach. So what do I suggest? You know what? I really think you can't. It's meaningless to do 2 days counting. But since the Baal Ma'or doesn't reject that immediately, the idea of counting 2 days, then maybe there's another approach. That maybe counting 2 days would be valid in the case of doubt. It says count without a bracha. He really doesn't think this is the right way to go. He says count without a bracha. And Rav Kook is so confident that you can't count 2 days in a doubt, because one of your 2 guesses is right, and Hashem knows that you did the right day. He says you can make a bracha. And the fact that you can make a bracha shows that Rav Kook is really convinced that he's on the right track. And Rav Shapiro very reluctantly says, okay, count 2 days, but without a bracha, thinks that Rav Kook is not on the right track. All right, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Any questions?
If Rav Kook said you have to say bracha, but you told us already. Thank you.
Oh, no other questions. All right, so we can zoom along here. How does this work? This is annoying. All right, so we have to move on.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. All right, so what's Sferat Omer? Another question that comes up a lot since we have doubts. This thing that everybody likes to know about, the international date line. How do you do? First of all, where is the halachic date line?
Yes.
Okay, the secular world London, England was once the center of world commerce and all sorts of other stuff. And they actually discovered how to build a clock that you can actually find longitude with. So they said London is the middle of the world, and they drew a line all the way around the earth, the other side of the world, and let's go someplace down the Atlantic in the Pacific Ocean. That's the date line. And if you go from east to west, I think you get a day. You go from west to east, you lose a day. All right, that's a date line. It's pretty. Probably most of you know. Has anyone not heard about the question of the Mir Yeshiva in Japan? Is anybody unfamiliar with that?
No,
You know? No, you don't know. No, you're not unfamiliar.
I'm unfamiliar.
You what?
I'm unfamiliar.
Unfamiliar. Okay, very good. Okay, so I need a date line. The Jews, there was a yeshiva in Lithuania. We just spoke about Lithuania. Or Shapiro's Tzal was from Lithuania. There's a yeshiva called the Mir Yeshiva. And they were in Lithuania when the Nazis come. There was a Japanese worker in the Japanese embassy who was like Hasidim Ot Olam. And if I could, I would shrink the screen and show you his picture, but I don't know how to shrink the screen. I'd love to show you his picture, but I really have no idea how to do this. It just doesn't work for me. Anyway, he gave visas. He gave visas to anybody who wanted to go get out of Vilna. And obviously the visa was only going to get you to Japan, but at least it was far away from the Nazis. So most of the Mir yeshivas survived the war. Many other Lithuanian yeshivot also survived. And they all went to Shanghai, and then some of them ended up in Japan. There's a book from the 12th century, a very important book, called Sefer HaKuzari. Very important book on Jewish thought and ideas. And one of the things he talks about is, where does Shabbat begin? Because even without a map of the world, you know that if I live in Efrat, I know that to the east of me, the sun rises earlier and sets. So they're like, so to speak, an hour ahead of me, right? People to your east are an hour ahead of you. People to your west are an hour behind you. And everybody knows that. You don't need to be a genius to know. The idea is how to calculate it. So the Kuzari, he talks about Jewish idea. Where does Shabbat begin? Shabbat begins what he calls at the end of the settled earth. Now they didn't know. They knew the earth was round. They didn't know that there's a Western hemisphere. They just thought, you're not going to fall off the edge of the world because there is no edge. So if you would sail east, you would get to Morocco and you get into a boat, you sail all the way around, you'll end up in China, which is actually what Columbus thought. He didn't know he was going to bump into America. So he said the world begins there at the edge of the east, which was China. Now Japan is off the coast of China, right? So they're an hour behind. They're a day behind. That night, so the Chazon Ish and others felt that was your date line. So a lot of people think that that's the date line for halacha. The rabbis in Yerushalayim, there's Rav Tukachinsky Zatzal. He said no. Just like the British think they're in the middle of the world, we say Yerushalayim is the middle of the world. And the date line passes 180 all the way around the earth until it's opposite Yerushalayim, not opposite London. And Japan falls in the middle. It falls in the middle between the Kuzari's date line, because he felt that the eastern edge of China is where the line should be, and Japan is off the coast. And if Tukachinsky held that they're on the opposite side of the world, they had all sorts of ideas. When should they keep Yom Kippur? So there's a date line issue. So wherever you say the date line is, whether it's off the coast of Vladivostok, or whether it's someplace in the middle of Australia. I believe their line goes to Australia. Or at some post said, no, the date line is a human idea. And if all the Goyim all of humanity thinks that the date line goes from England all the way around the earth, then we can live with that date line. But there has to be a date line. So what happens if you're traveling? Over, this is Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Over at Kava Tarik Mea Sfira. All right, so you're crossing the date line during Sfira to Omer. Okay, if you're on the plane, it's not a new day until you get to wherever it is that you're going. You're going from east to west. You're going from California towards Japan. So you think it's Tuesday in California, and then you're going to get a day, you're going to gain a day, and you're going to get to China, you cross the date line, it's the second day of Sfira to Omer. So your plane is going to land in China. They're counting 3 in China, you count 3 again. But don't say a bracha. Where you are gives you you have the status of where you are. So it's true. You got on the plane in California, it was day 3. You get to China, it's dark again. They counting 3, so you count 3 with them. Don't make a bracha. If you're going from west to east, okay? So you're going from China to California. So you think when you left China it was day 3, but you're losing a day. So you're going to get to California, they're counting 5. You missed 4. These things just drive me insane if I think too long about them, so I don't. You lost a day. What are you going to do? They're counting 5. I lost day 4. Okay, you can't make a bracha anymore. Okay, you can't make a bracha anymore because you don't have what's called tmimot. You don't have 50 whole days. So you don't make a bracha. And you go on. So let's say you know you're going to travel. Okay, I'm in China. And I know I'm going to fly to California during Sfirat Omer. I'm not going to be able to make a bracha until day 50 because I know I'm going to lose a day. Maybe I shouldn't say a bracha at all, ever, because the mitzvah is to count to 50, and I won't be counting to 50. Keep on counting with a bracha until you lose it, which is a very interesting idea, and it pays to see his footnote. Okay, the mitzvah is to count to 50, right? That's where you know the halacha. If you do miss a day, you don't count with a bracha anymore. Does that mean, let's say I missed day 30? Does that mean my first 29 brachot were levatala? Because the mitzvah is to get to 50. And I'm not going to get to 50. I know I'm not going to get to 50. He says, no, you count with a bracha until you miss the day. Because now I'm doing what I have to do. I have a mitzvah. I'm here in Eretz Yisrael day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I'm not traveling yet. You're doing a mitzvah. You're doing what you're fulfilling your obligation. There's a whole other issue. If a kid is bar mitzvah during Sfirat Omer. So if he was counting before his bar mitzvah, he was doing it because of the mitzvah of chinuch. After his bar mitzvah, he's doing the mitzvah that he himself is obligated in, or she herself is obligated. Okay, they still make a bracha. Okay, so we never say to a kid who's going to be bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah during Sfirat Omer, don't count at all, because no, you do the mitzvah that you have to do, and you do the mitzvah that you have to do. If you're going to have to fly, when you fly, you'll worry about it. Until then, you just count. So that's like another big question on Sfirat Omer about bar mitzvahs and people who are traveling, the date line. That's another, how do you count? How to count the Omer. So what's the mitzvah? It's good to know the Gemara. Any questions? No? What?
No.
All right. This is the Gemara. It's a very short Gemara. Masechet Menachot. Masechet Menachot are the grain offerings, and the Omer was a grain offering. So this parak talks about the mitzvah of bringing the Omer, harvesting the Omer. Finally, at the end, it talks about counting the Omer. And it's very interesting tomorrow. Gufa, Amar Abaye, mitzvah mimnei yomi, mitzvah mimnei shavui. You go back to the parsha, and it's really annoying me the way that this gives us psukim with nikudot, that they're just, even like they said, you do PDF, and even with PDF, it's better than without the PDF. Then what's the mitzvah? Shabbat on the day after the Shabbat, which is the whole other thing. Shabbat here doesn't mean the seventh day of the week; it means the first day of Chag. Sheva Shabbat Timimot, 7 complete weeks. That's the idea. You can't miss a day, because you need Timimot. And besides that, you have to count Chamishim Yom. Day 50 is going to be a Yom Tov. You have to count weeks and days, right? Parshat Re'eh, there's another review of the Chagim. Shiva Shavuot Tispo. Count 7 weeks, count 50 days. The Abaye says, based on this Gemara, and where did we go? Here we are. Amar Abaye. Why on earth isn't this working? Okay. Amar Abaye. I need that pointy thing, my hand. It's a mitzvah to count days, there's a mitzvah to count weeks. And that's why we say, Yom Yom Echad, Yom Yom Shisha Yamim, we get to a week, Yom Shiva Yamim Shem Shavua Echad. Then we count the days and the weeks. And we keep on cycling through this. Okay? That's the mitzvah. Rabbanan Debei Rav Ashi, Manu Yomi Mani Shavui. The students in the yeshiva of Rav Ashi, they counted this way, the way we count. They counted days, they counted weeks. A Maimer, Mani Yomi V'lo Mani Shvui. A Maimar would count the days but not the weeks. Why? Amar Zeichel Mikdashu. He said, when there was a Beit HaMikdash, when there really was an Omer, then there was a mitzvah min Torah to count. And then you counted days and you counted weeks. The mitzvah that we're doing now is a Zeichel Mikdash. And the Zeichel Mikdash is a Rabbanan. It's enough to count the days without the weeks. Okay? There's an interesting, I really think it's interesting. I just have to figure out how to load this again. Upload and open a file. Next. I have to find my file. I really apologize for this. I'm going to finish with this, I think. Where's the Sefer Mitzvah for the Rambam? Hope this comes out clearly. That'll come out pretty good. Now we have to find Rabbeinu Yerucham. I don't think we've ever studied Rabbeinu Yerucham before. Upload and open a file. Next. Rabbeinu Yerucham. First of all, I talk about Rabbeinu Yerucham for the years and years and years. I've been privileged to work with WebYeshiva. I've never taught Rabbeinu Yerucham. Rabbeinu Yerucham was a Rav in Spain. He was in the 13th century. These days we learn halacha from Shulchan Aruch. There are 2 great works of halacha. First comes the Rambam. A couple hundred years later, the son of the Rosh wrote a book called the Arba Turim, which reorganizes halacha differently. And we use his classification, Orach Chaim, Yoredeya, Avnei Choshen Mishpah. There were other halacha books that were written. And one of the important books, and they're all quoted in the Beit Yosef, who wrote this encyclopedia of halacha. One is Rabbeinu Yerucham. He gave his book an interesting title. It's like, I never have to, one day I'll be able to read his introduction, how he chose this title. His title is Toldot Adam V'Chava. The history, the meaning of humanity. The meaning of humanity is to do the mitzvah. That's what he called his halacha book, Toldot Adam V'Chava. which is a really great title. So it's called the Nativa, because he broke it like we break our halach into simanim. The Rambam broke his book into prakim. He divided his book into nativim, nativo, paths. Nativ 5, part 4. And he has a lot to say about Sfirat Omer. He says very interesting things. Now, we go back to our Gemara. Abaye said, right? Scroll, for crying out loud. He said there's a mitzvah to count, mitzvah mimnei yomi, mitzvah mimnei shavui. The mitzvah count days is a mitzvah count weeks. Doesn't mean it's 2 mitzvah. I mean, I'm doing 2 mitzvah. When I get up to day 7, the first 6 days, I'm only doing 1 mitzvah. On day 8, when I say Yom Shavu Achad Yom Achad LaOmer, maybe I'm doing 2 mitzvah, right? Because the Bible says mitzvah, mitzvah. It sounds like 2 mitzvot. It's 2 mitzvot in Sfirat Omer, 2 separate mitzvot. Okay, and Rabbi Yerucham develops this idea because he really thinks that's the case. This is Rabbi Yerucham. He has interesting things to say about Sfirat Omer. Okay. Lel Sheni Shel Pesach V'Achal L'Kirch Mitzvot Sfirat Omer. He counts for Sfirat Omer. Temahu. We're not counting the Omer. The Omer just means a measure of grain. Omer is about 1,500 grams of flour. We're not counting grain. We're counting days. Why is this called Sfirat Omer? Sfirat Yamin. Hashem commanded us to count days. We're not counting. You can't count the Omer. The Omer was only brought on the first day of Chomoid Pesach. That was it. Not counting it, counting days between that day and Shavuot. Why is it called the mitzvah of Sfirat Omer? Well, Sfirat La Omer, or Sfirat Yamin. I could say, oh, we're counting since the day of the Omer, or we're counting days. That's his first question. It's a really good question. Next, Lama Invachim Bet Brachot. Why don't we say 2 brachot? Achat Yamim, Achat L'Shavuot. Say Beit Mitzvot them. They're 2 mitzvot. According to Bai, they're 2 mitzvot. He said Mitzvah Mimnei Yami, Mitzvah Mimnei Shavui. So we should make 2 brachot. On the first 6 days of the Omer, we say Shem Spar Yamei HaOmer. Or if I get to day 7, day 14, day 21, Shavuot LaOmer. It should be 2 different brachot, right? But Eichanus Yom Yudal Yom Shem Bet Shavuot Yom Chafal Yom Shem Shosha Shavuot. Yom Yudal Yom Bet Shavuot. Malama Bet Shavuot. Okay. Why are we counting days and weeks? I know if it's 14 days, it's 2 weeks. Why don't we say Yom Abbas or Yom Shem Shnei Shavuot LaOmer? I know if it's 14 days, it's 2 weeks. He has amazing insight. Near Elan, it seems to us, the pasuk in Sefer Parshat Re'eh is to count 7 weeks, right? And by Parshat Emor, it says count the days from the bringing of the Omer. Very important insight. Okay. We have to go back to the pasuk. That's how he reads the pasuk. It's really credible how these are. Okay. I'm going to scroll this. I really don't like this new thing. Okay. From the day after you bring the Omer, you start counting weeks. And until the end of the 7th week, you count days. So the weeks are linked, according to the Sivos points out, the weeks are compared to the bringing of the Korban, as opposed to the days. But we're counting days until we bring a new Korban. That's Shavuot. So the weeks and the days are independent of each other, he says, to a certain extent. Yerolan, Mishum Dachtiv Shevesh Batis Barlach, Ksiv Bami Yom Shir Chamata Omer, Sheva Shavot Timotiana, Omer. The week count, the counting of weeks is linked to the bringing of the Omer Korban. But the days, no, the days are counting to Shavuot. So these, in our times, there's a mitzvah in Torah to count days, because the days are not connected contextually to the Korban. Yes, it says indeed, when there was a Beit HaMikdash and they brought the Korban Omer, they made a second bracha on the weeks. Okay? Why we count weeks? Because we hold like a Abaye and a Maimar. Maimar said it's D'Rabbanan, I'm not going to count the weeks at all. We say, yes, it is D'Rabbanan because there is no Korban, but we do it as a Zeichel HaMikdash. That's his insight. It's an amazing insight. The Rambam, who lived before Ben Yerucham, knew about this idea, and he rejects it totally. And on that note, I'll say goodbye. The Rambam wrote a book called Sefer Mitzvot. He counts mitzvot. There are a lot of people counting mitzvot. The Gemara says there's 613 mitzvot. The Gemara never says what they are. What's a mitzvah? All sorts of lists. The Rambam just rejected all lists. He says, this is the list. This is the real list. Okay, and he's the Rambam. This is what he has to say. Mitzvah Kuf Samachat, the 161st mitzvah. There's one single mitzvah to count 49 days after the Omer is brought. But he says, know this. There's another counting mitzvah. That's Beit Din would count the years to Yovel. It's a single mitzvah. Count days and count weeks. Count 50 days. Right? Count 50 days. Yamar, Shivashvatu also says, count 7 weeks. Now, the Yovel cycle is 50 years, the 50th year after 7 Shemitah. So Beit Din would count, this is year 1, this is year 2. They get to a Shemitah, Shemitah 1, year 1, Shemitah 2, year 2, and they would count Shemitah, they would count years. Okay? Okay, it's a single mitzvah. Don't let yourself be confused by the Gemara, which is what Rabbi Yerucham holds like. Mitzvah mimni yomi, mitzvah mimni shavui. There's a mitzvah to count days, there's a mitzvah to count weeks. I'm thinking that, it's 2 mitzvah. I mean, that's what Abaye says. There's a mitzvah of days, there's a mitzvah of weeks. You might think that's 2 mitzvah, which is Rabbi Yerucham. These are all parts of a single mitzvah. Okay? If I always say it's a mitzvah to count years and there's a separate mitzvah of days, I could agree with Rabbi Yerucham. It's all a single mitzvah. And that's how we hold. We count 49 days, we count weeks, and we count days. And it's a single mitzvah. Okay? And I don't have a clock on the screen, but I think it must be. Is it 8 o'clock?
7:59.
10:59. Are there any
Pretty
questions? Any
No
questions?
questions.
Ideas? What?
No questions. Thank you so much, Rabbi
Have a
Fischman.
Chag Kasher Sameach.
Fascinating. Thank you.
That was very
Chag
interesting.
Sameach.
Thank you very much. And
Did we
May
ever
Mashiach come.
What?
Amen.
Amen.
Did we
Amen.
ever did you ever do the makeup class for the one when you didn't have the internet? I forget what you had.
Last week was such a. I'm still getting the hang of this.
You're doing
Really-
great.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, it was good. It's good.
Thank you.
I'm getting the hang of it. Now we can all go back and clean. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.